What's the forest cover of Sri Lanka? You find the government says one figure, the environmental organization says another, and the international organizations such as UN and FAO says another. And it's confusing. You cannot take decisions on different figures when you don't know the exact amount of forest cover that's remaining in the country. The government says it's 29.6, which is absurd and is not true, and that's one of the biggest lies that was ever told to you. And that they take this 29.6% of a forest cover as an excuse to further destroy whatever the remaining forest in the country. Having said that, is 29.6% of a forest cover, if it were true, is enough for Sri Lanka? It's not. If you take the countries similar in size and some of the developed countries in the region, if you compare the forest cover in these countries and to us, we don't have enough forest cover even if it's 29.6%. If you take Taiwan, Japan, Korea, Bhutan, and many of the other countries in the region, have much bigger forest cover than in Sri Lanka. If you take Korea, it has more than 60%. If you take Taiwan, it has roughly about 45 to 48%. If you take Japan, it has more than 57%, I believe. And if you take Bhutan, it has 71% of a forest cover. So forest cover is so significant for a country, and forest cover and the development is interconnected. And therefore, even if our forest cover was 29.6, it's not enough. Secondly, our last forest cover assessment was done in 2008, and we based that number and say we have 29.6% of a forest cover. While we already know in 2009 the civil war was over, and that we started destroying all the forest for resettlement, mega projects, highways, and other development projects, resettlements, Udagammana, and everything. Now, every year, Forest Department says on their performance reports have released more than 100,000 acres on those years for developmental purposes. So how can you have, if the forest cover was 29.6% in 2008, how can you have a forest cover of 29.6 today while we destroyed 100,000 acres of forest every year? That would mean we would not have anything more than 17% of a forest cover today. In reality, we have roughly about 9,500 square kilometers of forest in the country. And we have protected areas equivalent to 29 to 30%, which maybe they are referring as the forest cover, which is not true. Not all the wildlife parks or the national parks are forests. You cannot take protected areas and say we have a forest cover of 29.6%. And on the other hand, the most recent forest covers, if you assess them, in 1993 there was a forest cover assessment, and in which it says we only have 23% of forest cover. So there can't be a situation that from 1993 you have a 23% of a forest cover, and in 2008 you have 29.6. You can't have that. And finally, in 2020, with this false figure of 29.6, the government decided to introduce the 1-2020 circular, which puts 500,000 hectares of forest in danger. Other state forests or state forests belong to the Forest Department. They took away that lands and given to the divisional secretariats for developmental purposes. So that loss of 500,000 hectares is equivalent to roughly between 2 to 3% of our forest cover. That would basically reduce 2% more. So if it was 17%, it will be 15% if all these forests are destroyed also. So here's the question. The government gives you a completely false figure. Probably Forest Department too gives you the same figure. That's not true. We only have merely 17% of our forest cover, and that we should do everything to protect it, and don't believe what the government says in terms of forest cover. We need to altogether protect every inch of forest remaining in this country.